Right now, we shift to what Susan Rice said about Bo Bergdahl's service on This Week with George Stephanopoulos. Roll it.
Certainly, anybody who's been held in those conditions in captivity for 5 years has paid an extraordinary price. But that is really not the point. The point is that he's back. He's going to be safely reunited with his family. He served the United States with honor and distinction, and we'll have the opportunity eventually to learn what has transpired in the past years. But what's most important now is his health and well-being, that he have the opportunity to recover in peace and security and be reunited with his family, which is why this is such a joyous day.
NBC has done a little journalism, so to speak. Well, that's their job. That's the news department's job. Well, they did actually through Richard Engel, who talked to former soldiers who served with Bo Bergdahl, one in particular featured here. We will also get the widow's perspective of a soldier that went out and tried to find and rescue Bergdahl. And then we hear from Susan Rice, and Hillary Clinton chimes in. Roll it.
There's growing anger against freed American POW Sergeant Bo Bergdahl, much of it from the very soldiers who served with him.
He is not a hero, but he is rather a deserter. He willfully decided to be selfish and to walk away from everything that we were trained to actually do.
Elizabeth Ivory stops short of saying Bergdahl was directly responsible for her husband's death. She wonders if there were other motivations for the mission that left her a widow.
I'm more than happy that he is no longer a prisoner of war, but I'm not okay with people wanting to call him a hero.
National Security Advisor Susan Rice described Bergdahl very differently.
He served the United States with honor and distinction.
And questions have been raised about the cost of securing Bergdahl's release, freeing 5 Taliban leaders from Guantanamo. Hillary Clinton weighing in for the first time overnight.
This young man, whatever the circumstances, was an American or is an American citizen. A lot of our closest allies do prisoner exchanges to get our POWs back all the time.
So we're starting to get the perspective, as we did Monday and Tuesday, regarding Bo Bergdahl's circumstances, the people impacted, the lives he impacted by his leaving his post. And then we shift to a discussion that took place between General Barry McCaffrey and Politico's Roger Simon. And this is featured in newsbusters.org. It was on MSNBC. And General Barry McCaffrey starts out with discussion of who's commenting on the story and how it is a legitimate discussion and debate regarding the circumstances surrounding the release of Bo Bergdahl in the swap for the 5 killer, murderous jihadists. Call them something else. Well, nobody else is, except for news organizations that report the truth about just how dangerous these people are, and they're going to have more blood on their hands. But I digress, Crane. Stay focused. Don't get angry. Don't let the emotions take over. The truth is what matters. Here's an exchange between the two. That is Politico's Roger Simon and General Barry McCaffrey. Focus in on the statements about the soldiers who are now commenting, as well as who have reported in the past, and their characterization by Politico's Roger Simon. More importantly, focus in on General Barry McCaffrey's response. Roll it.
They should not be involved in this case publicly, which is appropriate for national debate. And then finally, what you brought out, there's no question about misconduct in walking away from his post in the face of an armed enemy. The only question, desertion, this sort of thing, has legal definitions. Did he intend to stay gone? Did he intend to join the Taliban? Was he using drugs when he left? Those are appropriate further questions. But this guy was a disaster. he did contribute to a major problem inside the military forces. People were killed and injured trying to recover him. So bravo to NBC News for the way you've handled this.
Well, I agree 100% with about 50% of what General McCaffrey says. I agree that there are circumstances around Sergeant Bergdahl's disappearance that deserve more scrutiny and an investigation. But I don't think we should take as absolute legal fact 5-year-old memories from people who served with Bergdahl under circumstances of great stress.
Yeah, I think, first of all, it's not 5-year-old memories. There was an investigation done at the time. There's no question he walked away. He was not abducted. He wasn't left behind on a patrol. If we don't take a hard look at the circumstances, Bergdahl will be a medically retired staff sergeant. He'll get a couple of $100,000 in back pay, and will pay for him for the rest of his life as fruits of his own misconduct. So again, it's inappropriate, in my view, for the president and the chairman of the JCS or anyone in public life now to comment on it. It's not inappropriate for us to have a debate about this issue. So, you know, the president risks massive loss of credibility inside his fighting forces, 2.3 million men and women who are going to watch this pretty closely.
Remember, the administration really cares about the troops. Remember that. Our president really cares about his troops. His troops, our troops. A special shout out to Heather on the Facebook and those of you also who have served or are part of families who have served. We're a big, we just say thank you. Colonel Ralph Peters took on a statement made by State Department spokesperson in regard to some of the soldiers that have been speaking out on the Bergdahl swap. Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters pulls no punches. It's one of the reasons, one of the many. I may not always agree with him, but I love him. Roll it.
Does the State Department consider Sergeant Bergdahl to be a deserter?
The State Department, no, Lucas. Look, what we've said is we are going to learn the facts about what happened here.
According to those around him, his platoon mates, his squad mates, company mates, they said he walked off.
Some of them, there are conflicting reports out there about this.
The guys on national television last night, his squad mates, platoon mates were not correct.
I'm saying we don't know the fact pattern yet here. We don't. Nobody knows exactly what happened that night.
Well, I think that his squad mates have the best indication what
I don't
happened
think that that's the case.
They don't have the best information. Joining me now is Fox News strategic analyst Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters.
What you just saw and heard was Benghazi 2.0. A political flunky in the State Department insisting that she knows better what happened on the ground than the soldiers on the front line or the people in a firefight. The arrogance is boundless. And, you know, I wish the Obama administration, if it can't have the grace to be decent about anything else, at least stop insulting our troops. I mean, she called those soldiers from the front lines liars. And by the way, she's the liar. Because I can tell you, from the first days, for the first hours, the military knew exactly what Bergdahl's status was, and I have never heard of or seen any report to conflict the allegation that he is a deserter.
Certainly, I can't disagree with Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters and his righteous smackdown of Marie Harf, State Department spokesperson. What is frustrating is that we are also learning about a political calculation. Chuck Todd spoke to that. We're going to play that for you a little later with Seton Motley this hour. The reason we're playing it with Seton is because we're doing a wrap-up of the politics of what took place in the election, as well as the status of the Tea Party, the conservative movement, the establishment, and what signals are being sent. On the flip side of the break, part of breaking this story and information regarding Bo Bergdahl came from Pamela Geller, who's a co-author and friend of Robert Spencer. Robert Spencer is the director of Jihad Watch. He has educated America about Islam, the truth about Islam. He's an extraordinary man and leader. He has detailed some of the aspects of Bergdahl's service in light of the allegations and statements made that he is a deserter, how that impacts the future of our national security and the way of morale for our soldiers. We have yet to see. But last night, if you didn't have a chance, I'm going to post the interview. Colonel Kukulu spoke directly to it. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. Robert Spencer, director of Jihad Watch, commenting on Obama's, the administration's support of Hamas, something they said they would not do, specifically in 2008. Also, Bo Bergdahl. What have we learned about his service? Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. AFR Talk.